So keep it going for Mr. Uncle Rocky, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Levi. I've never been the first quarter break entertainment before. If I was 3 feet taller, 40 years younger, and 7 shades of melatonin darker, I could be playing tonight. Uh, so I've been married for 41 years to Pixie. She's over here. The only reason why I do this, it's the only place I can get 5 minutes of uninterrupted time in. You know, my Pixie, she's like a fresh cannoli. She smells great. She tastes delicious. But like too many cannolis, she's just killing me slowly. You know, we talk, I'm an old man, so we talk about my ultimate demise. And one of the things we talk about is me going first. And I tell her that all the time, I'm going first. She looks at me and she says, yeah, that sounds about right. We were away with cousins and we're talking about that. And my cousin says, well, what if she went first? I said, well, I would be right behind her. He goes, oh, that's real cute. He says, you'd be brokenhearted. You wouldn't be able to live without her. Pixie jumps in and says, he couldn't get out of his fucking recliner to feed himself. That's why he would die. So, anybody in here married? Have you ever tried to win an argument with your spouse? Yeah, that's adorable. You can't. You run out of oxygen before you can even make a point. And the funny thing is, I end up apologizing for something I said in 1999 at Beefsteak Charlie's. And I apologize because I like living indoors. You know, maturing in marriage, maturing in marriage is accepting the fact that your wife can't remember where she left the glasses on top of her head, but she can remember something I said on a Wednesday night in 1988 at 8:56 p.m. You know, when you go through marriage, you go through different stages, right? There's that first stage, you're newlywed, got a lot of playful banter, a lot of sexual innuendo. You wear out a mattress the first year you're married. The second, the second stage is happy. You know, the sex is good, the sex is frequent, but what do you get? What are you doing to mommy? You hear her screaming, she's yelling Yahtzee, we want to play too. The third stage is amused. You're feeling amorous, you run to the bedroom, you rip your clothes off, and you just crack up because gravity's a bitch. And then finally, there's that tolerant stage, all that playful banter that's turned to a bit of bickering. You still have sex. I like to call it hallway sex. You just walk by each other and go, fuck you. You know, when I was getting married, I went to my dad and I said, Pop, give me some advice. I want this to work out. He says, well, you only need to know 2 words. I said, what are those words? He says, yes, dear. That struck me as kind of weird because I never, ever heard him say yes, dear to my mother. So I decide to go to my Italian off-the-boat grandfather. And I say, no, tell me, what do I need to know? I'm getting married, I want this to work out. He says, well, this girl, she's Italian? I said, yeah, she's Italian. He goes, and she's a Sicilian? I said, yeah, she's Sicilian. He goes, well, you can tell a lot about this girl by the way she uses her hands. I said, how so? He says, well, if they're wrapped around your throat, she's probably pissed off. You know you're Italian when you use the rubber bands from the broccoli rod for your wallet. When I was a kid, I broke my wallet, and I went to my grandfather, and I said, Papa, I broke my wallet. I said, I need a new one. He reached in the drawer, threw 20 rubber bands on the table. He said, pick the color you like. You know, being Italian, food is a big, big, big part of our culture. And I grew up around a lot of really good cooks. But, you know, we moved around the country a lot, and we were living in Ohio at the time, and a friend says, I want to take you out for a nice Italian dinner. I said, I didn't even notice there were any good Italian restaurants here. He goes, oh, there's a great one. It's called Olive Garden. Now, I don't know if you've been to Olive Garden, but I'm Italian. To me, Olive Garden is a culinary hate crime. You know, my grandmother was a great cook, and she was a great baker. And when I was a kid, my favorite baked good that she made was bundt cake. So I'm a little kid. I'm maybe about 4 or 5 years old. We went to grandma's house, and I go running in, and I asked for my favorite baked good. But I was dyslexic, and I reversed the B and the C, and it came out cunt bake. It took us 3 days to wake grandma up. You know, my wife accuses me of having a selective memory. Oh, the Yankees tied it up. My wife accuses me of having a very selective memory. And I must admit, I do. I mean, shit I just push out of my head that has no relevance or importance to me. I like to think of it as Italian Alzheimer's. You forget everything but the grudges. You know, I've been around Italian women probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 generations of them, and I can tell you, they talk incessantly. It's almost as if they can't breathe. So for me, that really blows out of the water that whole excuse of I'm not sucking it because I can't breathe. I know for a fact they can breathe through their ears. And finally, you know, Italian women, as they go through menopause, it's very traumatic for them. And really, menopause is Mother Nature's way of reminding an Italian woman she's going to deal with facial hair for the rest of her life. In fact, my Nona, at age 70, was asked to front for a ZZ Top cover band. She had such a luxurious beard. All right, that's my time. I'm Uncle Rocky. Thanks to Eds for hosting us, and here's Levi.